I never thought saying, "Thank you," after my daughter's birthday party would end with the police at my door. Stay with me till the end, because what started as a simple family celebration turned into something I still can't believe happened. My name is Tiana Brooks. I'm 29 and live in Charlotte, North Carolina, with my 6-year-old daughter, Amari. It's just the two of us now. I left an emotionally manipulative relationship 2 years ago, and ever since then, every choice I make is for her. Her peace, her happiness, her safety. When her birthday started coming up, I wanted to do something small. Maybe a picnic at the park, some cupcakes, a few friends from her class. But then my older sister, Denise, called me one evening. She sounded excited, almost too excited. "Girl, let me host it at my place," she said. "You know, I got the space, the backyard, the grill. Family helps family." I hesitated. Denise was the type who liked to be in control, who made every good deed sound like a favor you owed her for life. But I didn't want to sound ungrateful, so I smiled through the phone and said, "Okay, if you're sure." The morning of the party was beautiful. Sunshine, balloons, music playing in the backyard. Amari was glowing, her little curls bouncing as she ran around with her cousins. For a moment, I felt grateful. Denise had decorated everything, streamers, banners, even a small bounce house. It felt like the kind of day Amari deserved. But small things started to bother me. Denise kept telling guests, "Yeah, I planned everything myself. You know how Tiana's been struggling, so I stepped in." I heard her say it more than once. My stomach turned, but I stayed quiet. I didn't want drama at my daughter's party. When I tried to help with cleanup, she waved me off, saying, No, you just relax. But make sure you grab me that ice and extra napkins next time, okay? You owe me one." The way she said it didn't sound like a joke. Then came the gossip. While cutting the cake, I overheard Denise whispering to my aunt about how some people just can't manage money and need their big sister to handle things. My chest burned, but I focused on Amari's laughter. She didn't need to see her mom upset on her birthday. When the last guests left, I thanked Denise sincerely. "You didn't have to do all this," I said. She smiled, a little too proud. "That's what family's for," she replied. Driving home that night, Amari fell asleep in the back seat, frosting on her cheek, clutching her new doll. I looked at her in the mirror and told myself the day was worth it. Maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe Denise just needed attention. I brushed off the unease and whispered to myself, "Family means grace." I didn't know then how wrong I was. 2 days after the party, my phone buzzed while I was getting Amari ready for school. It was a long text from Denise. At first, I thought she was sending pictures from the party, but my smile faded as I started reading. It was a bill. A full breakdown. Decorations, $450. Food and drinks, $800. Cleaning service, $300. Use of property, $400. Total, $1,950. I stared at the screen, confused. I actually scrolled back up to make sure I hadn't missed a joke somewhere. But no, it was real. She even ended the message with, "Please send payment by the end of the week." For a full minute, I just sat there. I couldn't believe it. Denise had offered to host the party. She said it was her treat, her idea. I never asked her for anything. I took a deep breath and texted back, "Hey Denise, I think there's a misunderstanding. I thought you offered to host Amari's party as a gift. I didn't agree to pay for anything." She replied instantly, "Nothing in life is free, Tiana. You're not a child anymore. You pay your way now." My hands trembled. The words felt like a slap. I stared at them, trying to make sense of what I'd just read. I typed back, carefully choosing my words. "I appreciate what you did, but I never agreed to pay you. If you needed help with something, you could have just told me before the party." Then she exploded. Message after message came in, each one sharper than the last. "You always want something for nothing. You used my house and didn't even offer to chip in. You embarrassed me in front of everyone, acting like I planned everything for free." I couldn't even finish reading them all. My stomach turned. This wasn't just about money, it was about power. It was about her trying to make me feel small again, like she always did when we were kids. I called her, hoping to clear the air. She answered, voice cold and sharp. "Tiana, don't play dumb. You know how much all that cost me. You owe me." "I don't owe you a dime," I said quietly. "You offered. You said it was family helping family." She scoffed. "Yeah, and family pays their way." That's when I realized there was no reasoning with her. She didn't want understanding, she wanted control. After the call, I just sat there at the kitchen table. Amari was coloring beside me, humming softly, unaware of the storm brewing. I didn't want her to see me upset, so I forced a smile and helped her pack her crayons. But inside, my heart sank. The person who had just smiled beside me 2 days ago, saying family means grace, had turned around and treated me like a stranger. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the words "you owe me" echoing in my head. It was the first time I truly felt betrayed by my own blood. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop. At first, I thought it was work emails, but when I looked, my stomach dropped. There were messages from my mom, my brother Marcus, and 2 of my cousins, all asking about Denise. "Why would you do your sister like that?" one message read. $2000, Tiana? "That's not right," said another. My chest tightened. Denise had gone behind my back and twisted the story. She'd told everyone I scammed her. I opened the family group chat, and there it was, her long message full of lies. She said I begged her to host Amari's birthday and promised to cover the costs afterward. She even claimed I blocked her after the party to avoid paying. It felt like someone punched me in the chest. None of it was true. Not a single word. I tried to explain in the chat, calmly typing. That's not what happened. Denise offered to host. I never agreed to pay her. I have the messages to prove it. But before I could even send screenshots, my mom, Gloria, chimed in. "Tiana, you've always been ungrateful. Your sister does something nice for you, and this is how you repay her." Her words hurt more than Denise's lies. I wasn't surprised, but it still cut deep. Mom had always favored Denise, the responsible one, the one with the big house and picture-perfect family. I was the single mom who, in her eyes, made bad choices. I texted her privately, trying one last time. "Mom, please. Denise is lying. She said it was her gift to Amari. You were there when she offered." She replied with one line that broke me a little. "I don't want to be in the middle. Just make things right with your sister." Even Marcus, my brother who usually stayed neutral, sent me a message later that evening. "Just pay her, keep peace. It's not worth the family drama." I stared at the text for a long time, my jaw tight. Keep peace? That was always their solution. Let Denise get her way, no matter who she stepped on. I typed back. "I'm not paying for something I didn't agree to. I'm not the one starting drama, she is." The moment I sent it, I felt a strange mix of anger and strength. For once, I wasn't going to fold. That night, Denise called me. Her tone was different now, sharp, smug, like she'd already won. "If you don't pay, I'll take this to court," she said. "You can't just use someone's property and not pay for it." I actually laughed. "Denise, you sound ridiculous. You can't sue someone over a family birthday party." There was a pause on the line, then her voice turned cold. "We'll see about that." The call ended. I stared at my phone, the screen gone dark, my reflection faintly staring back. I didn't know it yet, but those 4 words were the start of something much bigger. 2 weeks passed, and I thought maybe Denise had finally calmed down. The texts had stopped, and the family group chat went quiet. I tried to focus on my life, on Amari, on work, on getting back to normal. But peace doesn't last long when your own family is out to humiliate you. It was a Thursday afternoon. I had just gotten home from picking up Amari from school. She was sitting on the couch, watching her favorite cartoons, when I heard a knock at the door. It wasn't a light knock either. It was firm, official. When I opened it, 2 police officers stood there. My heart dropped instantly. I froze for a second before one of them spoke. "Ma'am, are you Tiana Brooks?" I nodded, my voice shaky. "Yes, is everything okay?" One of the officers held a clipboard. "We're here regarding a civil complaint filed by a Denise Carter. She claims you refused to pay for services rendered for an event at her property." For a second, I couldn't even process what he was saying. I blinked, then laughed nervously. "You've got to be kidding me. That's my sister." The officers exchanged a quick look. "We understand this is a family matter," one said gently. "But she filed the complaint formally. We're required to inform you." My cheeks burned. My neighbors across the hall peeked out, pretending not to stare. My stomach twisted from embarrassment. It wasn't an arrest, but it might as well have been. The sight of uniformed officers at my door felt like a scarlet letter plastered on my back. Troublemaker, liar, ungrateful. Amari came running up behind me, holding her stuffed unicorn. "Mommy, who are they? Did we do something bad?" That question hit harder than anything Denise had ever said. My throat tightened. I crouched down, forcing a calm smile. "No, baby. We didn't do anything bad." The officers explained the process, how I could respond to the complaint, how it wasn't a criminal case, just a civil matter. Their tone was polite, but the damage was done. When they left, I shut the door and leaned against it, trying not to cry. I felt sick. My own sister had actually filed something with the police, just to make me look small. I had trusted her, thanked her, defended her when people said she could be manipulative. And this was how she repaid me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured those officers standing in my doorway, the pity in their eyes, the whispering neighbors. Amari slept beside me, curled up and peaceful. I brushed a hand through her hair and made a silent promise right then. Never again. They had taken my peace, my dignity, and nearly my reputation, but they weren't going to break me. I wasn't going to let anyone humiliate me like that ever again. This time, I was done being the quiet one. After the police showed up, something inside me changed. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was angry. Not the kind of anger that makes you scream, but the kind that sits quiet and sharp, waiting for the right moment to move. I decided if Denise wanted to play games, I was going to play smarter. So, I started gathering everything. Every text, every message, every picture from the party. I went through my phone for hours, screenshotting every word she'd sent, especially the ones where she said things like, "Let me host it, my treat," and "Don't worry about anything." I wanted proof, and I wanted it neat. Then I started digging deeper. If she claimed the party had cost nearly $2,000, I wanted to see what that money supposedly went to. I remembered the decorations, balloons, paper banners, a few store-bought snacks. None of it looked fancy. So, I checked a few stores online, finding the same supplies for less than $100 total. I even called the bakery where she said she ordered the cake from. The lady told me Denise had used a discount coupon and picked up a basic sheet cake. Nothing custom, nothing close to what she'd claimed. Piece by piece, the truth started coming together, and what I found made my blood boil. One afternoon, my cousin Kiera called me out of nowhere. She said she felt bad about what was going on and wanted to tell me something. "Look, T," she said. "Denise been running her mouth. She told Aunt Cheryl she was going to teach you a lesson about responsibility. Said you always get a free pass because you're the baby of the family." I sat there in silence, gripping my phone. So that was it. This wasn't about money, it never was. Denise wanted to embarrass me. She wanted to remind everyone that I was still the messy little sister who needed her help. It was about control, power, and pride. The thought made me sick. All I had done was trust her. And she turned my daughter's birthday into a stage for her own ego. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a folder full of screenshots, photos, receipts, and price lists. I wasn't sure what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her win. I looked over at Amari, who was drawing pictures at the table beside me. Her crayons were scattered everywhere, and she smiled when she noticed me watching. That tiny smile gave me strength. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about showing my daughter that no one, family or not, had the right to treat us like we were less. So I made myself a promise right there. I was going to get even. Not by yelling or fighting, but by being calm, smart, and strategic. If Denise thought she could outsmart me, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. After everything Denise had done, I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't fight her with anger. She thrived on chaos. The more emotional I got, the more power she gained. So, I decided to do something she would never expect. I went quiet. I stopped arguing. I stopped defending myself in the family group chat. I stopped replying to the messages filled with guilt and manipulation. Instead, I sent Denise a calm, polite text that read, "I'll sort it out. Just need to make sure everything's right legally." Almost immediately, she replied with a cheerful tone I hadn't seen in weeks. "Glad to hear that, sis. I knew you'd do the right thing." I could practically see her smug smile through the screen. She thought she'd won. She thought I was finally backing down and getting ready to pay her ridiculous $1,950 bill. I let her believe that. Sometimes silence isn't surrender, it's setup. That week, I reached out to a local consumer attorney. His name was Mr. Langston, an older man with a calm voice that made me feel like I was finally doing something right. I explained everything from start to finish. The texts, the fake invoice, the police visit, all of it. When I was done, he leaned back in his chair and shook his head. "She has no legal claim," he said simply. "If she offered the event as a gift and there was no written agreement, there's nothing she can demand. In fact, filing a false complaint could get her in trouble." Hearing those words felt like breathing fresh air after weeks of suffocating. For the first time, I didn't feel powerless. He told me to keep every message, every screenshot, and every detail. If she keeps pushing, you'll be ready, he said. That night, I gathered everything into one neat folder, digital and printed. I wanted to be ready for whatever Denise tried next. Then, I reached out to people who had been at the party. One of my friends, Jasmine, remembered Denise loudly telling guests, "I'm doing this for my niece. It's my treat this year." Jasmine agreed to back me up if things went further. Another cousin even sent me a voice note where Denise bragged, "I'm about to teach Tiana how grown-ups handle responsibility." The more I uncovered, the calmer I became. Every piece of evidence wasn't just proof, it was protection. So I kept playing nice. I sent Denise short, polite texts every few days. Just reviewing everything, or almost done sorting things out. She'd reply with heart emojis or "no rush, sis," thinking she was being patient. Inside, I was already 3 steps ahead. I wasn't rushing to pay her. I was preparing to expose her. She thought she'd cornered me. But she didn't know that the quiet I was giving her wasn't weakness. It was strategy. And soon enough, she'd find out just how dangerous my silence really was. A week later, Denise sent a message in the family group chat. "Family meeting at my house Sunday. Time to clear the air." Of course, she called it an intervention, like I was some problem that needed fixing. My first instinct was to ignore it, but something in me said no. This time, I wasn't going to hide. I had nothing to fear. Sunday came, and I drove to her house with my head held high. I had my folder with me, every text, every screenshot, and every statement neatly organized. My heart raced, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wasn't there to fight. I was there to end it. When I walked into the living room, the whole family was there. My mother sat on the couch with her arms crossed. Marcus stood by the wall, and a few aunts were whispering quietly. Denise stood in the center, wearing that fake, hostess, smile she always used when she wanted attention. "Tiana," she said, her tone dripping with fake sweetness. "I'm glad you came. I just wanted everyone to hear both sides before things get worse." I nodded, sitting down quietly. "Go ahead." She cleared her throat dramatically and began. "I opened my home and spent my own money to give Amari a beautiful birthday. I trusted my sister to pay me back what she agreed to. Instead, she insulted me, refused to take responsibility, and made me out to be some kind of villain." A few relatives nodded along, clearly influenced by her rehearsed story. I let her talk, calm and silent. She loved the sound of her own voice. When she finally paused, I spoke softly. "Are you finished?" Denise smiled, thinking she had cornered me. "Unless you'd like to admit you handled this wrong." I reached into my folder and pulled out a stack of printed messages. "Actually," I said, "I'd like everyone to see what really happened." The room fell quiet as I handed them around, screenshots of her texts where she said, "Let me host my treat." Pictures of the party decorations that clearly weren't worth the thousands she claimed. Even a statement from Jasmine, my friend, confirming Denise said it was a gift. The shift in the room was instant. My aunts exchanged looks, and Marcus's eyes widened slightly. He'd seen that text before, but he'd stayed quiet to keep peace. Now there was no denying it. Gloria tried to speak up. "Now, Tiana, maybe your sister just—" I cut her off gently. "No, Mom. She didn't misunderstand. She lied. And she dragged the police into it just to humiliate me." Denise's face turned red. "You don't know what you're talking about," she snapped. I stood up, calm and steady. "You tried to scam your own blood for clout, Denise. I'm done being your victim." Then I gathered my papers, looked around the room one last time, and walked out. No yelling. No tears. Just silence. Behind me, I heard nothing but whispers. And for the first time in weeks, I felt free. Weeks passed after that tense family meeting, and life slowly started to feel normal again. I focused on work, on Amari's school projects, and on enjoying the peace that came from walking away from chaos. But even from a distance, I began to notice something happening to Denise. At first, it was small things. Her social media posts started to sound more desperate. She'd always bragged about her event planning business, posting pictures of clients and parties she coordinated. But lately, those posts disappeared. Instead, she was sharing old photos and writing things like, "Some people don't appreciate real effort." Then one afternoon, I got a message from Kiera, my cousin. "Girl, Denise lost another client," she wrote. Words out that she tried to file fake claims against her own sister. People don't trust her anymore. I didn't respond right away, but I couldn't help feeling a quiet satisfaction. It wasn't revenge I had planned, just the universe setting things straight. Denise had built her reputation on being dependable and professional. But once people heard how she treated her own family, they didn't want to be next. Her actions had caught up with her. A few days later, I got a call from Marcus. His voice was softer than usual. "T," he said, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told you to just pay her. I saw those messages. I knew she was lying. Denise has always had this jealousy thing with you. She can't stand when you don't need her." I didn't say anything for a moment. Hearing my brother admit that meant more than he probably realized. "Thanks, Marcus," I finally said. "I'm not angry anymore. I just want peace." He sighed. "You deserve it." After that, I got another call, this time from my mother, Gloria. Her voice was trembling, like she'd been crying. "Tiana, baby, please," she said. "This family shouldn't be like this. Sisters shouldn't fight. We've all said things we didn't mean." I listened quietly, letting her speak. She wanted me to be the one to forgive first, to fix what I didn't break. When she paused, I said softly, "Family doesn't call the police on you, Mom." There was silence on the other end. Then she sniffled and said, "I just miss how things used to be." "Me too," I admitted. "But I'm not going back to that." After we hung up, I sat by the window, watching Amari play with her dolls on the floor. The sunlight hit her curls, and she laughed so freely that my chest ached with pride. For the first time in months, I felt calm. The power that Denise tried to take from me, my voice, my dignity, my peace, was mine again. I didn't need to prove her wrong anymore. Life was already doing that for me. Karma was working quietly, and I didn't have to lift a finger. A few months later, I finally made the move I'd been dreaming about for years. I packed up our little apartment and found a place in a quiet neighborhood on the other side of Charlotte. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. The kind of place where the neighbors waved good morning, where the streets were lined with trees, and where peace didn't feel like a luxury. As I unpacked the last box, Amari ran through the hallway, her laughter echoing off the walls. "Mommy, can I pick which room's mine?" she asked, spinning in circles. I smiled. "You can pick any one you want, baby. This is your home, too." We spent that weekend decorating, hanging up art, and putting together a little reading corner by the window. Every piece of furniture, every photo on the wall, felt like a symbol of how far we'd come. No one had given this peace to us. We built it, just the two of us. One morning, while drinking coffee at our new kitchen table, I looked at the leftover ribbons and balloons I had saved from Amari's last birthday. Instead of bringing back bad memories, they made me smile. The chaos with Denise had taught me something unexpected. I actually loved planning events. Even through the mess, I'd enjoyed seeing everything come together. The colors, the details, the joy on Amari's face. So, I decided to turn that small spark into something bigger. I started a little side business, event planning of all things. It was ironic, I know. But this time it was on my terms. I started by helping friends and coworkers plan baby showers and birthday parties. I didn't have much, just creativity, determination, and my phone. But word spread fast. People liked that I made everything feel personal and affordable. It felt good to bring joy into other people's lives, the same way I'd wanted to bring it to my daughters. Amari loved being part of it too. She'd sit at the kitchen table, testing color combinations or helping me blow up balloons. Sometimes she'd say, "Mommy, this one looks prettier than Aunt Denise's party." That always made me laugh. In those quiet evenings, with the smell of glue, ribbon, and cake frosting filling our small home, I realized what peace really meant. It wasn't about cutting people off completely. It was about choosing yourself first. Denise and my mom barely reached out anymore. And honestly, I was fine with that. The silence between us was its own kind of healing. I didn't hate them. I just didn't need them anymore. Life moved slower, softer. My days were filled with work I loved, my daughter's giggles, and the sweet sound of calm. No drama, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells. One night, as I tucked Amari into bed, she whispered, "Mommy, I like our new house. It feels happy." I kissed her forehead and smiled. "It does, doesn't it?" For the first time in a long while, I truly agreed. Peace wasn't just found, it was earned. A full year passed before I heard from Denise again. By then, life felt completely different. My little business had grown from a side hustle into something real. I had clients who trusted me, a growing portfolio, and enough income to finally breathe. Amari was thriving too, happier, more confident, and full of light. Our home felt peaceful. I had learned to live without looking over my shoulder. It was a quiet Saturday morning when my phone buzzed. I was frosting cupcakes for a small client event while Amari hummed to herself at the kitchen table, twisting balloons into shapes. I wiped my hands on a towel and glanced at the screen. It was a text from Denise. My stomach tightened. I hadn't seen her name pop up in months. I opened the message slowly. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" That was it. No explanations. No details. Just those words staring back at me. For a moment, I froze. Part of me wanted to feel angry again, to remember how it felt when she sent the police to my door, how small and humiliated I had felt. But instead, all I felt was calm. I had outgrown the need for her apology. I set my phone down on the counter and looked around our kitchen. Sunlight poured through the window, bouncing off the soft yellow walls. Amari was laughing at something silly, her cheeks puffed as she tried to make a balloon dog. Her laughter filled every corner of the room, pure and bright. That sound, that was my peace. My closure. My revenge, if you could even call it that. Denise's message sat there on the screen for a few minutes, unread again. I thought about everything that message might mean. Maybe she had lost more clients. Maybe guilt had finally caught up to her. Maybe she was lonely now that everyone saw her true colors. But none of that was my problem anymore. I picked up the phone one last time, hovered over her message, and pressed delete. It was as simple as that. No anger. No gloating. Just quiet release. Amari looked up from her balloons. "Mommy, can we have our own party again?" I smiled. "We already did, baby. We had the best one." She giggled and went back to playing, and I stood there for a long moment, just watching her. That's when it hit me. Revenge isn't always about destroying someone else's world. Sometimes it's about building your own, brick by brick, until you're standing taller than the people who tried to tear you down. Denise's words didn't deserve a reply because I had already moved past the version of me she tried to control. The story was over. The pain had turned into purpose. And the life I built, filled with laughter, peace, and love, was the only answer I needed. Do you think Tiana made the right choice by walking away and focusing on her peace, or should she have given her family another chance? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. And if stories like this speak to your heart, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next one.